and then get to the next level. So games really are a set of nested interactions over time that each involve you building kind of a more accurate model of the underlying system, but they also involve kind of a success-failure stage for each. There's this nested complexity that we're kind of presenting the player with over time. In a game like The Sims, this is kind of what the nests look like. You know, at first you don't know how to control the character. You learn to control them, move them around, have them interact with objects. Then you start dealing with their basic needs. You know, and they're peeing on the floor, they're starving, whatever it is. Every time you get success. Now, what's kind of counterintuitive about this that I found continually is that players actually spend more time and have more enjoyment on the failure side of this than the success. You know, once you've succeeded the game, it's kind of boring. But the failure is actually what players really enjoy. Now, it's important that they understand why they're failing so that they want to go back and kind of try it again. And it's also important that the failure be interesting and varied and presented in kind of an interesting, fun way. But really, that's what players are hopefully spending 80% of their time in your game failing, basically, and achieving their goals. So in some sense, you know, as game makers, what we're doing, you know, we're not just kind of handing somebody a game, you know, for entertainment and experience for money. In some sense, what we're actually doing is handing them a set of problems. Here's a set of problems. Pay me money for these problems. Hopefully, you'll have fun solving them. Now, these problems, you know, depending on the complexity of the game, have a different size solution space, which are, you know, what are all the different ways in which I can solve the problems within this game? Some simple games, like puzzle games, have one specific solution. Everybody's going to find the exact same solution to a puzzle. Other games, like chess, board games, you know, have a much larger solution space. There are a lot of different ways to win a game of chess. As we get into more open-ended design games, you know, it's truly just huge amounts of solution space. And that's kind of interesting. You know, players actually are very good at intuiting how open-ended a game is. When you put a player in a game, within 5 minutes, they can just kind of poke around in there and get a sense that this is a very open-ended game, you know, very expressive. It's almost like when you put a wild animal in a cage, they walk around the perimeter and figure out where the fence is. What are the boundaries of the possibility space or solution space within the system? I remember the first time I played Grand Theft Auto, it took me about 5 minutes to realize how open-ended of a game that was. And it was kind of interesting that with that limited of an interaction, I was able to go in and get a sense for how large that possibility space was in the game. As game designers, we're actually engineering this kind of possibility space. A game like The Sims, really, we were kind of imagining it as having these different balances between material success, social success, with local maxima on either extreme. If you actually were to balance the material with the social, you would actually achieve the highest level of success in the game. We were actually able to measure this through metrics, watching people play the game, thousands of players playing the game over hundreds of sim days, and get a sense of kind of what the bottlenecks the players were experiencing, where they were actually fanning out, where they were converging. This more and more is becoming one of the chief tools, and one of the really interesting properties of games is the fact that we can measure player performance, player interest, and player behavior, you know, at very detailed levels. So we're kind of ramping this model up in the player's mind. One of the ways we do that is kind of through metaphor. This is something that's, you know, been around